I've always been somebody that's been extremely curious just how the world works, how things operate, and why certain people get certain types of things and why certain people don't. From a very early age, I just started to dive deep into personal development even before I knew it was called personal development. That one idea changed everything for me. I didn't know that that was even a possibility. But the moment that I read those pages and I heard that Tony Robbins did it at 18, I'm like, oh, well, I could do it as an 18-year-old too.
Entrepreneurs, people that are wanting to start a business, or maybe they've been in business for a long time, or they're taking their business to the next level. I think for leaders, when you stop growing, you start dying.
That was good.
All right, guys, welcome back to Educate and Elevate. Great podcast episode. We have an amazing guest, good friend of ours, Leo Robles. Man, talk about, man, you're somebody that is looking to really take your leadership qualities and traits and business, doesn't matter what type of business you own or run or manage, to the next level. You run a team. This is definitely, the next 4 segments of this podcast is definitely going to be something that you're going to be excited about. If you guys follow the journey, you guys probably recognize Leo from the community. Spoke at World Shakers 1, yes. Brought amazing value. I think all the speakers from World Shakers 1 will always hold a very special place in my heart, bro. Thanks for making the drive out. Thanks for coming, being on the podcast with Educate and Elevate with Armando and I. And how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm grateful, man. Thank you. First of all, foremost, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to both of you for the opportunity to be here on the podcast. Thank you also for, the opportunity to be on World Shakers. It definitely was a special event. Anything that I can do to contribute and share, to make a difference, to share one thought that could enable somebody's journey to make it a little bit better for them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about, man. Because like these little one-liners, like these little one sentences are what carried me through some very difficult times. So I'm a huge believer of what you guys are doing. So congrats to what you guys are doing. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited.
I mean, even been in the same room with you right now, brother. You can feel the ambience of always giving. And you mentioned a couple of things of always giving, contributing. Like, who is Leo for someone who doesn't know you, bro? And quite frankly, like, I know if anybody's been on Instagram, they got to see you. But for someone who like never really gets to know you, they just see the camera. Like, who could they really get to know?
Yeah, it's that's a good question, and I could answer it in so many different dimensions, right? And I'm like, who am I, and who are we? We can get into a whole different little rabbit hole, right. But I guess who I am is I'm a combination of all of my experiences throughout my life, right? I'm a combination of all of that, everything that I've read, just from my father's and my mother's teachings, from a very young age, very humble beginnings, my dad and my mom always educated me to treat others with respect, no matter who they are. Mm-hmm. Just those like little fundamentals, which are not little fundamentals. I think they're huge fundamentals for sure. Treating people, just great, offering them a glass of water when they come to your home, like all these little traditional things. Mm-hmm. So that's I bring a lot of that. I've always been somebody that's been extremely curious, just how the world works and how things operate and why certain people get certain types of things and why certain people don't. And from a very early age, I just started to dive deep into, personal development. Even before I knew it was called personal development, I met somebody at 16 that kind of opened up my eyes to personal development. He put me on nightingale.com. Nightingale is, the godfather of like personal development. And this is the man that also inspired me to do real estate. And he told me that the real estate part is easy. He said that the difficult part is the mindset. And that was the first time that I heard mindset, and that first time I heard personal development. And I had to like, oh, this is something I can get behind. Because before then, I didn't like to read. I didn't like to do any of that stuff. And I went in and bought The Law of Attraction with Esther Hicks. I bought that book, and the Silva Ultramind ESP system. Those are the two audio cassettes that I bought. And honestly, I didn't understand any of it. I fell asleep to them most days, honestly. It was implementing. I fell asleep to them, and then I heard Oprah talk about the Dangerous Secret, so it was like, oh, this is Nightingale. Like this is the person that I just bought a bunch of courses from. And then I don't know, my mentor also told me that he said, go buy books. And I asked him, well, what book should I read? He's like, whichever one calls you. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went to Barnes and Noble, and then the first book that I see that stands out to me is this book called Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. And I liked it because it said unlimited power. Like, I want to have unlimited power. Like, that's what I want. So that one book, the first 10 pages completely changed my life, because he started to share a story about an 18-year-old that was very successful, that was making over 7 figures a year. And that was the first time that I heard as a young adult, which is I was 16 and a half at this point, that I could make so much money at such a young age. That one idea changed everything for me. I didn't know that was even a possibility. But the moment that I read those pages and I heard that Tony Robbins did it at 18, I'm like, oh, well, I could do it as an 18-year-old too.
Power becomes
possible.
So the power of a thought, we take so much stuff for granted now. Like, we're inundated with information, but the power of one thought, it just expands your mind, right? Like, we know this to be fact, right? Once your brain has a new level of awareness, it can't contract back. So as a 16-and-a-half-year-old, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can make money at a young age. I can make my dreams happen. I'm not crazy, because that's what I thought before then. I was like, I think I'm crazy for trying to aspire to have all these things and do different things. And it was completely out of the norm of my family dynamic. It was completely out of the norm of where I grew up. So yeah, that's a little bit of who I am. And I'm just very curious. I really believe in the power of your thoughts. I'm huge into spirituality. I'm huge into things that bring me peace. I love nature.
Bro, I'm listening to you, and I can't help but think about, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. Kobe was asked one time in an interview, and I think it was with Lewis Howes, it might be, and he said,
I like his podcast.
I think it was Lewis, and Kobe says, I'm paraphrasing, that I realized that the world was my library.
Yes.
And really, it was like the curiosity. Kobe, if you know Kobe, you study the Black Mind, obviously, like that's a big person for us that we love to study his mindset, is the power of curiosity. Just always being curious.
Yes.
How can I get better?
Yes.
Right? What footwork do I need to do? And I think, like, I'm listening to your story, and like the biggest thing that stands out to me from you in childhood is you were just always curious.
Yes.
Yeah. You were always curious. You were wanting more. And I think, like, obviously we're in the month of January right now, and we're talking about planning, right? We're talking about maybe a lot of our audiences, entrepreneurs, people that are wanting to start a business, or maybe they've been in business for a long time, or they're taking their business to the next level. And I think for leaders, when you stop growing, you start dying.
Yes.
Right? So constantly having the mindset of just curiosity.
Yes.
Right. I love to go in when I go into meetings or something that's repetitive. We've all been there, right? Learn it for the first time, even if you've already heard it.
Yes.
Have an open mind. I think those are really big things.
I think that's a challenge, though. I think it's like finding the details. Going back to basketball, Steph Curry, for example, once there was a video of him getting mad when he made a free throw. They asked him later, "Why were you upset?" He said, "Because it touched the rim."
Wow.
I was like, dang. There's always
that
like that little
to
thing.
excellence, right? That commitment to perfection and excellence, and knowing that he could have done better.
He's like challenges him internally. And for you, Leo, like obviously growing up, you were always curious, and then, inner development was something that was in you, personal development. How do you constantly improve yourself now? Let's say people right now, it's the beginning of the year. People feel good now. But are they going to feel good in February and March? Are they going to keep going? So what could you tell them to help them keep going and developing themselves?
Yeah, just going to what both of you said, it's like you really commit to a life of growth. I mean, and regardless of if you understand or you choose to have a life of growth, we're going to continuously grow. The thing is that we choose to stop growing, right? Growth is it's your natural. It's your natural self-expression, like of growing. Obviously, I in 18 years old, 16 years old, I didn't have all this white hair, and I didn't do anything about this. Growth is just natural. Yeah. It's who we are as human beings. So, and if we look at nature, everything grows, right? The trees grow, everything continues to expand, the universe. So we get in the way of that process. We say, well, I got to the point where I'm satisfied and I'm happy. Well, then you're choosing to disconnect yourself from like growth, right? And then that's when the pain comes in, because if you have a huge vision, right? Let's just say you have a dream to to make X amount of money. It could be $1 million or $10 million. But your commitment and your actions are down here. That's where misery and struggle and pain comes in, because you know what you want, what you could be, and this is the level that you're operating at. So that gap, that becomes very painful. The bigger your vision, the bigger the pain is going to become, especially if you're not taking action. So kind of like to your question is, people should continue to take action, keep moving forward, be very clear about what they're doing, continue to, follow their passion. I'm not saying that every aspect of what you do, you're going to continue, going to enjoy. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that we do as entrepreneurs, your business, my business, that, it's not sexy. It's like we've got to pick up the phone and we've got to follow up and do all these things. The process, right? That process is what a lot of people don't like or don't enjoy. They want to see the finished product on social media where you got the nice car, they're flying out in private jets and all this stuff. But the process, even if we watch a movie, how boring would it be if we watched a movie and all we saw was like all the success and we missed the entire context of the process?
So good.
We get inspired by them.
That's so good.
We admire them because of the process. So why do we think, right? And including myself, I was guilty of this at one point. I was a little entitled. I wanted to have the results, but without doing the work. It's entitlement, right? Like, I want that result, but I'm not doing the work. And I remember like one of my first biggest failures of like, I went through car repossessions and foreclosures and evictions. I went through all this painful process, and I fell into a massive pity party for about a year. And I was, every single day, I was in pain. I was crying. I didn't want to go to work out. I didn't want to do anything. And after about a year of me being in this massive pity party, I realized that my life got worse. It didn't get better. And like something in me kept saying, well, you got to go out there and do something. You got to go out there and do something. You got to go out there and do something. I'm like, no, but I already tried. I already did it and it didn't work. And I read the books and I took the action and I failed. So you get caught in this loop of like, just again, like resentment and pain. But the only thing that changes your life is action. The only thing that changes your life is action. So that's the point that I got myself to. I got sick and tired of being tired. And then I just got myself to the point where I needed to take action. So to answer again your question, what they should be doing in January, it's like they got to take massive action. Don't take the foot off the gas pedal, bro. And then they got to go all in, like, and really be connected to your passion. 100%.
So, because this is so good, man. Like, I have a lot of people that reach out to me from time to time. It's like, man, you're I'm sure we all have, like, man, you're crushing, you're doing great, you're doing this, you're doing that. And it's like, comparing is something that we could do. Joy. Everyone is guilty of it at some point.
Yep.
Well, he's here, she's there. I can never get there, right? Breaking that bondage of like comparing yourself.
Yeah. It's a huge thief of joy. It's like and I would say, everybody's at different chapters, right? Everybody's at a different chapter. We look at a different chapter. We look at somebody's chapter 10 or 11, 12, 20, and they're like, dude, how are you doing that? Well, you didn't see my chapter 1 through 10. They sucked. Right. It really sucked. I went through a lot of nights where I didn't have money, where I drove a car that I didn't want to drive. I couldn't go to the places where I wanted to go to, right? I struggled financially, getting my phone disconnected, and like, so those are all like the initial chapters. They suck. They just suck. But the thing is that we could look at the finished product, yes, and then it's very easy to compare yourself. And that's why one of the key things that I always share, like if you guys follow me on social, it's like the delayed gratification. It's a huge, I think delayed gratification is one of the most important things for success, because there's always going to be a gap from where you are to where you want to be. Right. There's always going to be a gap. So if you can't master delayed gratification, then you're going to be suffering for the rest of your life.
Now, for someone thinking like, well, that sounds like really far-fetched. I hear a lot about it. What system have you used, or do you use for your team? Like, hey guys, like that's the goal. Here's where you're at. How do you keep the goal center and focus along that journey?
So we'll keep it like really simple, right? Writing them down, like writing down their goals, reading them twice a day. Because the thing is that we get distracted. We get distracted with so many different things, right? And the next shiny object and the next thing, and I want to go in this different direction. But the thing is that I also, when I create goals with people, I tell them like, you got to plan out your next, you got to really commit to this in 5 to 10 years. Like you really got to commit to it. Like even if you didn't make everything you wanted to make, and even if you didn't get the result you didn't want, if you don't have a commitment of 5 to 10 years at least, you're not going to make it because it's going to be too difficult, right? So I always have people think longer term, right? But also in business planning, I also don't necessarily encourage you to go and create a 12-month business plan. The world is changing so damn fast. So what I would say is like, just plan out the next 90 days. Like, what are you going to do in the next 90 days specifically? What are you going to do in the next week, right? What activities are you going to do every single day? The next 90 days, reevaluate. Hey, did my plan work? What kind of results did I get? Oh shit, I didn't get enough results. Let me go ahead and take a new action. Let me add on some certain things. And it doesn't matter which profession we're talking about. The number one thing that's going to move the needle forward in your business is having conversations. You have to have more conversations to increase your production in anything you want to do. And there's so you can keep it as easy as that. I have more conversations, I get luckier. I have more conversations, I get more escrows. I have more conversations, I have more paychecks, right? So it's just all connected to conversations. So I help people to really simplify that process and get connected to that. And a lot of people get in their own way. They're like, well, what am I going to say? You had them at hello. Just start a conversation. Yeah. Start a conversation.
Smile.
Start a conversation.
Get to know them. Yeah. Be curious, right? It goes back to, it goes back to like what you really had it just always inside of you, which is just curiosity.
Yes.
Keep asking the next question, like how, why, like what did you do here? You know, I think that's something that's big that a lot of people can really take going into 2024 and building your life, building your business, building your relationships, right? Are you curious of what the next step is? Maybe you're sitting here and you're thinking like, yo, I'm ready to take my next step. You just heard it right here. Take massive action.
Yes.
Take massive action. So be on the lookout. We're dropping another podcast here in a couple of days. The continuation and segments of Leo Robles and what he has really turned into, man, this just great business coach, real estate coach, and we're going to get into a lot of those specifics. So
that was just the beginning.
That was just the start.
Guys.
We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Let's go.